Hi, and welcome to another Type with me. In this week's episode, I want to talk about the factory method pattern in TypeScript. It's a creational design pattern, which is very important to know about. And you will see that a lot of developers and a lot of teams will try to implement this design pattern, right? Factory method helps to program to an interface, not an implementation. And why it's important to program to an interface is because when you program to an interface, it's very easy to change the implementation afterwards. When you just inject the interface, you can very easily swap and use another implementation or use another implementation. So imagine that we have an interface staff, it has a salary and it has an about. Then of course I can say I want to have an implementation of staff, which is a manager, it has a salary, and I can create other kind of implementations as well, right? So I will do that maybe, say here, recruiter, for example, earns a little bit less. Yeah, recruiter. And maybe we have also a null staff. And this is I am nothing. Something like that, right? So now I can create something like a staff factory, right? Which has a get staff instance where we just return our implementation regarding to a string that we provide, right? But you could, for example, provide an enum or provide whatever you want and then pick out the right implementation and go further with it, right? Of course, you see here that if we don't find the right implementation, we always have something default. And in this case, it's a null staff, right? It's something that has salary 0 and it says about I'm nothing. It's really the default if the program doesn't know what you mean, right? So now we could create a user service which has a get about, and we have here a user type. We can ask to the get staff instance, the right clause or implementation, and we can do something like dot about, right? Can do the same with get salary, of course. So I'm gonna do that just to be a little bit complete. Get salary, and then you can do something like that. And now we can do something like this. We can put static before, and here also we can put static. And then, of course, I can add something like this, a console.log, where we say user service.get gets me a manager, and user.getSalary gets me the salary of the recruiter, and I also need to save this and to run this, and then you see here the results. So in this case, it's an about, and in this case, it's a number, right? So I don't like the implementation of the switch, right? Because if we have more implementations, we need to have more cases, right? So maybe we can change that. So what we could do is just add this, right? We could have a const user map where we have our key and we have, for example, recruiter and manager. And when we define type keys here, for example, we can have then recruiter or manager as an option that we can send towards the get staff instance, right? So what we could do right here is say, okay, I want to have just the keys. These are my options, right? And then, of course, I can just remove our switch. We can do return new user map of K, and that's it, right? And then of course here we also want to have keys, and also here we want to have keys because a string, well, has more options than our keys, right? A recruiter or a manager. So here also I want to have keys as an option, and here I need to change it to manager and recruiter. So now we can execute this one, right? And again, we have the same kind of output there. I can very easily change it to get about, right? Can also execute this one. I also need to save it, of course, and then I can execute this one, and you see we get the strings back, right? So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. I think the last part of it is really useful because then here you have the options, right? That you could put to the get staff instance, and you just define it into a user map, what the different implementations are according to our interface. Also there, we don't need to have the null staff, so that's also an improvement that we have there, right? Over that kind of implementation. Again, use interfaces, use this factory method to create your instances. It will improve your code, it will result into cleaner code and better results at the long run. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Bye.